I never imagined there were animals that could undergo photosynthesis. The world is full of truly unique creatures.
What are you referring to, Oliver?
Hey, Emma. I was watching a special feature on TV earlier about a microorganism called euglena.
Ah, I know what that is. It's a living organism that's been gaining attention recently as a nutritional food source.
Well, it turns out that euglena is an animal that can perform photosynthesis. I was surprised to learn that such a creature exists.
Yes, euglena is quite unusual among living organisms.
I always thought photosynthesis was exclusive to plants, so it really caught me off guard.
Indeed, when we think of photosynthesis, we usually associate it with plants. Most plants on Earth are capable of photosynthesis. However, Oliver, there are also plants that can survive without photosynthesis and have successfully spread to almost every continent.
Wait, there are plants that don't undergo photosynthesis? That sounds fascinating. Could you tell me more about it?
Absolutely. Let me explain about a non-photosynthetic plant called Cuscuta.
Thanks, Emma.
Cuscuta doesn't resemble the typical image we have of plants.
What does it look like then?
Let me show you an actual photo. The orange, intertwined parts, resembling vines, are Cuscuta.
It has an unusual color, but it doesn't seem to have as many distinctive features as I expected. It reminds me of the common grasses with these tendrils.
Indeed, from this photo, it might seem like we're simply capturing the vine-like parts of a plant. But Cuscuta is different from other plants with tendrils as it lacks two essential components most plants have.
What are these missing components?
One is roots. It does have roots in the early stages of germination, but after that, it lives its entire life without roots. Also, its leaves have degenerated, which is different from typical plants. Since Cuscuta doesn't undergo photosynthesis and doesn't need leaves to efficiently perform photosynthesis, the leaves have become unnecessary. Over time, the leaves have degenerated into triangular scales, each less than 2 mm long.
I always thought roots and leaves were essential parts of plants, so it's surprising that Cuscuta doesn't require either. But if Cuscuta can't perform photosynthesis to obtain energy and doesn't have roots to absorb water and nutrients, how does it survive? Both water and energy are essential for all living organisms.
Great question, Oliver. Cuscuta obtains the necessary energy and water for its life processes by parasitizing other plants.
So, you mean like plants such as mistletoe, which are known to be parasitic?
Exactly. However, mistletoe can still photosynthesize on its own, so a better example would be Dodder, which is a more purely parasitic plant. Dodder grows by intertwining itself around the stem of its host plant, just like regular climbing plants, and it pierces thin tubes into the pathways that carry nutrients through the intertwined stem, stealing the necessary nutrients and water for its own survival.
So, Dodder absorbs the nutrients and water that other plants obtain through photosynthesis and root absorption. It's quite a clever and cunning plant.
Well, animals, including us humans, also rely on the resources of plants to survive, much like Dodder.
Indeed, that's a good point.
The fact that Dodder is still thriving today means that its parasitic lifestyle has proven to be successful in the competition for survival.
To survive in the natural world, it seems that just being idealistic won't suffice. Hey, Emma, I have a question after hearing all this. Can I ask?
Sure, go ahead.
I'm thinking that Dodder can only survive by parasitizing other plants, but how does it find plants to parasitize? Plants don't have eyes like we do, and it seems inefficient to just randomly extend its tendrils.
That's a thoughtful question, Oliver. Dodder seeds cannot survive unless they parasitize other plants, so they have evolved various adaptations to increase their chances of parasitism.
What specific adaptations are you talking about?
Let me explain it step by step. As I mentioned before, Dodder can't survive unless it parasitizes other plants immediately after germination. Therefore, it has evolved to germinate when it senses the presence of other plants in its surroundings. Specifically, it can detect volatile substances emitted by other plants. In other words, the scent of plants, and germinates in response.
So, Dodder seeds sense the presence of other plants through their scent.
And even after germination, it uses these volatile substances to determine the direction in which it extends its tendril. It relies on the scent of plants, not just during germination, but also when it's extending its tendrils.
But just relying on scent, wouldn't it be hard to accurately determine the exact position of the surrounding plants? The scent could be affected by the wind direction, which might cause a discrepancy between the direction of the scent flow and the position of the plants.
Indeed, just detecting the scent alone makes it challenging to identify the exact location. But Dodder plants can parasitize without knowing the precise position of surrounding plants.
Really? How does that work?
When Dodder extends its tendrils, it doesn't proceed in a straight line. Instead, it swirls the tendril's tip in a circular motion while extending. So if the tendril is generally in the right direction, it has a high chance of entwining itself around the host plant.
Ah, I see. So, if it extended the tendril straight, it could only ensnare a plant growing directly in the tendril's path. By rotating the tendril's tip, it broadens the search for potential hosts.
Exactly. Also, it's interesting to note that this swirling motion of the tendrils slows down without exposure to blue light.
Interesting. Why is blue light necessary?
Let's break it down. After germination, the Dodder plant seeks to parasitize nearby plants. If plants are growing adjacent to the germinated spot, there's no need to flail its tendrils to locate a host.
Right. If there are plants close by, a slight swing of its tendrils should suffice to make contact. It would be wasteful to expend valuable energy swinging wildly.
Exactly. And if other plants are nearby, it's likely that the Dodder plant's seeds are shaded by these plants' leaves. So, if it doesn't perceive the intense blue light from sunlight, it assumes there are nearby plants and moderates its vine movement.
So it's reacting to the sunlight, which includes blue light.
Yes, and additionally, Dodder is known to sense far infrared radiation as well.
What does it need to sense far infrared radiation?
Far infrared radiation is abundant in sunlight that has passed through plants' leaves and stems. Thus, detecting far infrared radiation indicates that the plant is either entwined with a host or about to do so. This perception, along with the touch sensation of the tendrils, triggers the Dodder plant to pierce the host and start forming tubes to absorb nutrient.
So it begins to prepare for nutrient absorption based on far infrared radiation and touch sensation. Considering it'd be wasteful to form nutrient-absorbing tubes without nearby plants, this ability seems crucial.
Exactly. Parasitic plants like Dodder need a more nuanced understanding of their surroundings than regular plants. Interestingly, Dodder even knows when the host plant's flowers will bloom.
Really? How does it determine the flowering period?
It's believed to perceive the FT protein, a key trigger for flowering.
So it forecasts the flowering period based on the movement of flowering proteins.
Correct, and Dodder often synchronizes its flowering period with the host plant.
That's fascinating. I would have thought plants bloom independently of each other. Why does Dodder need to align its flowering period with the host's?
In essence, it's to harness the surge of energy during flowering. Typically, plants use significant nutrients throughout their life, especially when they flower. Dodder seizes this opportunity, stealing the host's nutrients for its own flowering and subsequent reproduction.
The nutrient flow in the host plant isn't constant, but surges during the flowering period. So Dodder syncs its flowering with the hosts to ensure abundant nutrients. Clever.
Right. I suppose that's it for today.
Thanks, Emma. I always thought photosynthesis was fundamental to plants. But it's astonishing to learn that there are plants that survive and thrive without it, utilizing various adaptations.
I'm glad you found it fascinating. Also, it's worth noting that there are about 150 to 200 species within the Dodder genus, with some capable of limited photosynthesis or germinating without volatile substances emitted by surrounding plants.
So, there's quite a variety within the Dodder genus.
Absolutely, and parasitic plants like Dodder have managed to carve out a unique niche in the struggle for survival. In fact, parasitic plants have evolved over 10 times throughout plant history, with an estimated 2,000 species accounting for about one of all flowering plants.
I haven't come across many parasitic plants, but there's quite a diversity, isn't there?
Absolutely. Well, let's wrap it up for today. Thank you for watching. If you enjoyed this, please return for more interesting scientific discussion.
Don't forget to subscribe and hit the like button. It really helps us.
Thank you for watching.